Okay, the cardstock butterflies. The world is your oyster with these, because there's so many ways you can do it. You probably know heaps of them. Using paints, using sprays, everything. You can use your perfect pearl paints like we did with the denim butterfly that we made. You can use your glimmer glazes and glams to resist and make them interesting. But we're going to use what we've got in the kit now. So there's many ways you can apply the glazes. This is a glaze. The glaze in here has a light shimmer in it as opposed to the quite large shimmer that you get in your glimmer glams. So this is lighter shimmer, finer shimmer. I don't spend a lot of time shaking these up because it just frustrates me and bores me to sit around shaking them up. So I just stir it up with my brush and then give it a quick shake up. Now we're ready to go. You always make, they rinse off with water while they're wet, but once they're dry, you've had it. So don't leave your brushes to dry by themselves. Make sure you've got water handy to put your brush in. You can use the brush that's in these little bottles to carefully go around and perhaps we'll use the side of this one and paint the areas in here as I have done with this. This is just one layer, but I've just painted in there. You could make it stronger by going over it again and giving it another layer, but it's not going to, it's just going to even it up a little. I kind of like the watercolor kind of painted effect that gives. So you can do that. The other thing you can do is you can get yourself a bit of sponge, one of your old Tim Holst sponges that have got all marked up. Put a little bit down and just scoot it over the top of this in places. Now what's going to happen there is going to create a resist, and that resist is going to show that cream through when you bring any colour over the top. So we'll put that on there. And you note that I've got this bit of green and I've put this glaze over it. That green is going to stay there. So make sure that your area is nice and clean of ink, unless you happen to want to have that effect. So you can do it like that. With your stronger coloured glazes, because I'm not sure which one you've got in your pack, you're going to get different effects. If you've, say, got a blue like this one here, obviously you put that down and you start scooting it over something. Got this dragonfly here. It's going to be a more positive effect. Just do a quick one like this with this dragonfly. Now from the bits in your kit, you've got quite a few different options, because you can also, as we did with the denim butterfly, mix up your perfect pearls and put some perfect pearls through into these areas. I was saying with the perfect pearls, you can mix that up and also colour in some of these areas depending on which colours you want on your butterfly. You can sparkle, put some of the sparkle on now in different areas. We'll do a bit of that. This one might look a bit jumbled, but we'll see. those to dry. While those drying, if you create something that you hate, a fun thing to do is to just, or you could take it out with ink, but if you've got that resist on there, you really need to be taking it out with something like a gesso. This is the piece you just saw me doing. All I've done is I have used the fan brush and put on some Glimmer Glam and some Glimmer Glaze to create a resist on there in a nice dot pattern. Those are the ones that were drying from before, and this is one that was drying from before. And what I have done on this one, all I have done is I've put down a piece of towel and I have put this on top, and I've sprayed this one with some of the chalkboard spray. You have to be aware that chalkboard spray has a degree of opacity to it, which means it will cover things, even things that you don't want covered. It's to show you what I mean. This is one that I have actually sprayed with another chalkboard paint here, and you can see how even though that resist is in there, it's still sitting on top. Be aware of that. With this one, I've taken the time to wipe it away a bit. I've also been a naughty girl and used the wrong towel to dab it like this and put green on there, or turned a bit of this on there which is turned green with that apricot colour that's underneath. Don't do that unless that's the effect you're going after. And you can do that where you put it, spray a bit on here, and actually use Glad Wrap, or I don't know what you call it overseas, but we call it Glad Wrap here, cling film, and created a scrunched up effect where you put it into this paint and you just dab it over the top. That can be a cool effect as well. This one, just to show you a different way of doing things, I've actually used Distress ink on it as a base, and then I have, because Distress ink is an embossing ink, I've let the first layer dry, I've put another layer on, and on the top bits here I have used clear embossing powder. You can do that with your work. When you do this type of thing, that means that this is a resist here with the embossing powder clinging to it, and under here we've still got the ability to change it because it's just Distress ink on paper. That's just another way of doing things. So remember about this because it's pretty important. But even if you get a hot mess like this, you can do some fun things with it. You can change it by bringing a positive image over the top using archival ink. You can use the sprays in your pack. This is the chalkboard spray that you've used. Instead you can use the whatever Perfect Pearl Mist that you've got in your pack to come over the top. If you've got a goldy one, or I'm not sure what you'll have in yours, but it will sit on top, and that's an important thing to remember. These mists have, even though they're going on to, you'll see me putting on surfaces later that like the acetate, it's water based, and so obviously it would run clean off, but because it's got mica powder in there, if you just leave it to sit and dry, it actually will create patterns on the acetate. But you'll see me do that next. But you can also do it so that it will have that effect on your chalk paint as well. So let's just try a bit of that. You can put it on so it really gets in there and create effects like this. Now that, I just absolutely love Perfect Pearl Mist. I love the fact that they haven't got a lot of colour in them, and what you're getting is a nice coverage of mica. Because I love what it does when it goes through into all the creases and crevices on your work. You can put more on as well. And if you're using actually a gold or something, this comes out really brilliantly. So you can start to see those shimmers, shines coming through. That still wouldn't have enough detail for me, so I would keep going. I'll show you what else we're going to do. But you can see here where I've taken a butterfly and I've covered it with black gesso because I haven't liked what I've done. And if you see this, see how that makes that all beautiful and shimmery? That's just your Perfect Pearl Mist over the black. It has some incredible shimmers. You might have one in green or red or gold or whatever happens to turn up in your pack. This is a turquoisey colour. So you can bring back anything and change anything, so don't be disheartened. If I wanted a really positive image, I would then get any colour that I wanted of my archival ink and just bring it over the top of that. And then you've completely changed the look of what you were making and made it into something perhaps you'd like a bit more. Or not. It's all about your tastes. You can still put more shimmer on, you can put more Perfect Pearls on, you can go in and put more of your glazes on to change things slightly. All the things you do, all these layers, will just add interest to your work. Remember, these are only the beginning layers, so any of my work, it's all about layering. So we'll have several different layers that go on there. Doesn't matter what you've created. I don't care if it looks like a hot mess to you. Everything can be made to look positive. Usually you just need a little bit more detail, as with this one that used to look like a hot mess. You can do things with these also, like put use some of the glossy accents or whatever, diamond glaze, whatever you like to use. I like to use glossy accents and highlight areas, which brings these up really a lot like jewel effects, as you can see. Let me show you one. If you look close at this one, you can see it's got glossy accents highlighting these areas here, and it gives you a kind of a really cool effect wherever you put the glossy accents. It's quite a cool effect. But at the moment these are looking quite flat and not enough. When it's like that, you just need more layers. So choose out of your pack. In your pack you have your Glimmer Glaze, you have your glaze, your glam, your chalkboard, and you have your Perfect Pearl Mists. We could easily bring Perfect Pearl Mists over it now. You could also bring over any of your Distress inks, especially in one like this, where the chalkboard is creating a certain effect in there with this apricot colour, but in behind the glazes and they have got a resist effect, so you've got these little dots everywhere. So you can bring a watercolour effect over that and that'll look quite pretty. So let's think what we're going to do to finish these off. You could also just bring over your Perfect Pearl and whatever colour you've got in your pack, and it's going to run into all the creases and do kind of cool things. So what do we put over this one? You'll be limited to what you've got in your kit, but it'll still all go. Try the blue one. Again, with these ones you've got to mix up that mica powder. If you don't like shaking like me, you're going to get a give up pretty quickly and grab a brush and get down there in it. Mix it up. You can run across where it's resisting the water effect. The Perfect Pearls won't sit, but the mica will stay when we dry it, and it'll cling because of those binders that are in the powders and the micas that are in the mists and in the little jars like this. See shiny bits go into it. Another thing I haven't shown you, but you can do, is grab your glazes, whatever colour glaze you've got, doesn't really matter, and to make an interesting effect, put a little bit down and put a little bit of your powder in there. And this will also create a resist effect if you want to scoot it around anywhere in the glaze form. It takes a little bit more mixing in, and if you haven't got enough you're going to have to put a little bit more glaze in there. But you can also kind of change up your colours a bit by doing this type of thing. So if you wanted to give this one a nice edge, mix your Perfect Pearls in with your glaze or your glam. Don't be afraid to mix all these things together. Try the products together. Remember, you're only working on a piece of card, so if you beggar it up, make a mess of it, end up with a hot mess. It's a piece of paper. Just get your gesso out and put gesso all over it and start again. Okay, if you want to get more detail into these, there's a couple of, well, there's many ways you can do it, but a couple of easy ways of doing it of doing it is like I showed you before, by using your ink. I'll show you on half of this one so you can get an idea if that would be something that you would like. You can see once it's dried that won't be quite as dark, but it is giving you a lot more detail and through the layering. You could also use texture stamps to stamp on there. This is just one of Tim Holt's dot ones, and of course you could do this. It would be nice if you did it in a rust or another colour, like even greens, purples would look great on something like this. But we're just going to use the black so you can see what I'm actually doing. And you can see how that textures it up. This might be a look you like. I kind of like it when it's textured like that. You can see it on this one here as well. So those are a couple of methods of changing your work. Even on ones like this, that texturing looks great too, so you can just pop it in. I usually, on ones that are quite deep like this, concentrate the dots into the middle, so it just gives it a bit of dimension that way. This one, remember, was the one where we put the too much chalk paint over the top and let it sit dry on top. Then we brought it back by using our archival pad and using perfect pearls over the top to create these interesting colours down the sides. Then I've used a texture stamp to put some texture in there to give it a little bit more dimension again. Then you can use your glossy accents, whatever dimensional that are called glue that you've got. I like glossy accents. And then you can create the dimension by covering certain areas of it. And once this is dry, that's when it gets that nice jewel, like jewels reflecting through your work, and it makes it really cool to look at. So don't forget to do that all over. I'll finish that one later. This one to me still needs more. You can take, at this stage, if you've got, I'm not sure which coloured one of the Glimmer Glam you've got, but if you don't shake it, if you, even one of these ones that are more colourful, if you don't, it's got to have a translucent effect when you put it over top of anything. So if you don't shake it and don't go down and get the glitter and just get the glaze that's on top, again you can go right over. If you want some of your yellow to stand out more, you can always get a wet wipe and before it dries take some of it off. But you have to be quick. It dries reasonably fast. And you can create an effect like that. And then go back and if you do like a bit of twinkle, get down into the twinkly stuff. Now, as with the denim one that I showed you in another video, the glitter doesn't show very well on the video, but it really is quite intense and quite gorgeous. You saw me do it on this piece. It really is hard to see. When you're just looking at it flat, but it's just gorgeous. Even the ones that you don't like, before you do anything, wait until you see what you do with the acetate before you throw them away, because it just becomes a layer. Or, because you see, if you put the acetate over now, it would really block it out, but if you just used a clear one, you'll be able to see that through there. This is a clear piece that I've done. You'll be able to see it through. And to make it interesting, again, you can actually just edge it again with your either your glaze or your sparkles. All I've done to bring out the detail in them is to use my pad over the top. This one was the one that we used the chalkboard spray on that was way too opaque, and it cancelled out what we had underneath. So what we did back then to bring it back was we put some of the Perfect Pearl spray over the top, let it settle, put this over the top to bring its detail in, and then put glossy accents, which I will continue to do to bring out those nice jewel effects underneath there. And I'll show you that later when it's finished. This one I've used a little bit of Perfect Pearls to spray over the top, wiped it off, didn't want it quite so shiny, so I used a little bit of the chalk to put on there. And this one I'm just going to use a little bit of the archival ink in Monarch Orange to highlight it. Use any of your inks, but you just need to make sure it's a permanent ink that will sit on everything. So you need an oil-based ink like your archival, which stays on. You can almost use your stamp pad as a painting brush, but remember, see how I have got on here some of this Perfect Pearls has come off onto there. You don't want to ruin your pad, so you need to wipe that off before you close it up. It's an oil-based ink, so it's not too bad. A little bit of that, and because it's me and I like dark, I'm going to put a little bit dark around the edge too, just on the edges. All these layers just add a little bit more dimension each time. Over here, some of the ones that I did earlier, I have put the glossy accents on to highlight the different areas, and when those go dry and go clear, they really reflect through and look quite beautiful. If you get little dots in them like this, the air bubbles, you can actually pop them. And on something like a butterfly like this, I'm not too worried about it because it just adds to the texture. This is the one that we flicked our Glimmer Glam on and our Glimmer Glaze on, so you can see those pink dots back there. And we sprayed it with a Perfect Pearl mist, and then we edged it with the Glimmer Glam just to give it those details. Another one here. This was the yellow one, and what I did with the yellow one is, so I got the Glimmer Glam, but I didn't shake it up, and I just put a layer of it over the top of everything after I had highlighted it with the archival pad, and then again I've got some glossy accents going on around there, and that will also come up clearer once it's dry. This is the turquoise one that we sprayed all over with the chalkboard and kind of obliterated it, so we had to bring it back by, again, bringing in the archival over the top, spraying it with some Perfect Pearls to get all these little kind of rosy bits of mica going on there, and when we textured it with our texture stamp, just dots on the archival pad, press it round to get some more detail in there, and then a bit of glossy accents over the top. The glossy accents, some people have trouble applying it. There is no trouble applying glossy accents. It can actually build up quite well. Just put it on. Most people put it on too thin, so you can actually have it quite high, and that's it. If it gets a bubble in it, prick it with a pin. But any sort of dimensional glue can bring that up nicely. And this one, I think we just need a bit of glossy accents on. We might put some sparkle in there perhaps. So just go for it. Just use those products. All you've got to remember each time is that some of them resist and some of them don't, and what you can layer with. So there we go. Have fun with your pack and the cardboard.